Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the Driver's Briefing. This is Santiago, your host. Francisco's on the line here.
Hey guys.
And, it's Sunday night. We watched the race at Monza this morning, and I'm not going to say it. You can say it.
I mean, I think we've started the last 3 episodes in exactly the same way. Oh man.
Yeah, I was just telling friend offline that we can't just keep talking about Max because at this point he's unstoppable. I mean, there's nothing you can do, and we play back our episodes from every week, and we say the same thing. We predict Max is going to win. We say he was strong in the race, and that was just to touch on it briefly. I think that was just much of the same this year, or this race, and it's kind of the story of the year.
Yeah, I mean, he's unstoppable. He has basically no competition this year. I mean, it was insane. He got up like 5 places on the first lap. It's just crazy, man.
Yeah,
his team seems to get his strategy right every time.
Yeah, I had a couple of friends texting me on the viewers of the show on Saturday after he wasn't as strong in qualifying. Kind of badgering me for saying that. I had predicted a strong weekend for Max for Monza.
Yeah.
And I mean, the guy, he knew he had a penalty, right? And so he wasn't, even if he got pole, he was still going to get pushed back. And so it made sense for them to set up their car for the race rather for a 1-lap pace from qualifying. And so, you saw that fatter wing, like rear wing compared to any other
saw that
car.
They didn't make a bet for low downforce as much as the other cars. Ferrari had a way thinner front wing. So Red Bull, I think this race, they didn't have the straight line speed that has characterized them for the rest of the season. I don't think the car was as dominant this week as it's been before, and I think
certainly not as much as Belgium.
Yeah, and I think a lot of the success from this weekend goes down to Max's merit. He had an amazing start, and then I don't know, Ferrari just can't seem to get. I wouldn't say they got their strategy wrong. It didn't work for them in the end.
Yeah,
but it never does.
Obviously, Charles taking the gamble with the first pit early on when he had that virtual safety car when Vettel retired.
I think they thought maybe that virtual safety car would evolve into
a full safety car.
Safety car, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But no, I mean it didn't work out with them because the safety car ended, or the virtual safety car ended right when Charles was leaving his pit box. And so he only got half the gains from doing an early pit stop, and he just suffered the rest of the race on older tires, much older tires. He took essentially nursed him home until he was able to switch on soft tires.
Carlos had a good race. He started at the back of the grid.
Yeah,
he was making up spots.
He was almost on the podium today.
Yeah, so that was
had we had a 3-lap sprint at the end, which we'll talk about in a while. I think he could have taken George's spot on the podium for sure.
Checo would have been there too, because he was on softs, and he had just scored the fastest lap, I think, before the safety car. No?
Oh yeah, because Checo, I didn't really understand. I think Checo was in a good spot. Obviously, he was losing kind of time to Hamilton. I
think at the beginning
Norris, but he got. I feel like he had an unnecessary pit stop at the end.
Yeah, I didn't really understand what they were doing with that pit stop at the end. I think Checo himself said that he thought he had the pace to get on the podium, and that pit stop, and then afterwards the ending with the safety car kind of stopped his momentum. He also had a very bad start. I think he lost a couple places at the start, and then he had a flat spot in his tire, and he had to pit early, and then his brakes were on fire, and then it was a whole show. In the end, he bet for the hard tires early. It worked out for Red Bull. There was a moment where in 3 laps he just went up 15 places because everyone pitted.
Yeah.
I was surprised. It wasn't a notable race from him. It was pretty meh. It's his worst finishing position so far this year. He finished 6th.
Oh, he finished outside the top 5. That's right.
Yeah,
I hadn't thought of that.
First time he finishes outside the top 5 this season. Yeah. So I want to talk about more the midfield.
Let's do it. I mean, I think McLaren. Lando was another one who had a terrible start, right? He went into like I don't know if it was like anti-stall or something at the front at
that was
start
with his clutch. I think he had clutch issues. Yeah.
He lost a ton of
I think this
positions.
race was a missed opportunity for McLaren. They started third and fourth, right? They had the second.
They had a second row, and Ricciardo had a really good start, and he was having a pretty good race. Like, hats off to him. He was having a good race before he retired.
Yeah, and then. Because Alpine didn't score any points, so if McLaren could have held on to their starting positions or scored double points with the cars, then could have been a big help for them. But in the end, Danny had to retire, and then
I was surprised that the Renaults or the Alpines they didn't have the pace or that strong.
Yeah,
pace.
They didn't seem to find it.
This track on paper suited their car. As one of the best on the field, right? They have a really slippery car. They're usually getting like the top speeds at tracks, and so I don't know. I was a bit surprised. Obviously, Fernando had to retire early with damage on the floor, a leakage, I believe. So kind of to protect the engine, they retired the car, and then I think if I'm not mistaken, Ocon ended up at 11th, just outside the points.
I have a headline for you.
What's up?
Episode headline: Is this the end of Nicholas Latifi's career?
Oh, today
as a Formula One driver.
If there was a headstone or tombstone for like Formula One careers, Latifi's tombstone would say up until
make a petition
September 11th,
for
2022.
Nyck De Vries to finish the season, man.
What a race for Nyck De Vries, man.
Rookie, man.
He had
first race.
Saturday.
He scores points in a Williams, bro.
Saturday, he's in the morning. He gets called in like an emergency.
He didn't drive in the practice sessions, did he?
He did half an hour of FP3.
Half an hour in
FP3.
Half an hour without having driven that car.
Saturday morning, he was sitting in like the Mercedes motorhome, having a coffee, having some oatmeal, etc. And he gets called in, and has to get a suit, everything, to race in that Williams. So he gets 28 minutes of FP3, goes into qualifying, absolutely crushes it.
Crazy.
Gets into Q2.
He outqualifies Latifi in his first.
Latifi's now 21st position out of a 20 place, like drivers' championship. So yeah,
wouldn't it be? Is it 21st or is it 22nd?
21st.
Don't we have 21st?
We've only had one non-regular driver.
No, bro, we had Nico Hülkenberg at the beginning.
Year?
Yeah, the first race. But did
Vettel have COVID or something?
But he didn't score. He didn't score points.
Oh, so is he in 22nd?
So it's out of 20. He's 22nd. Nico's 22nd. Latifi's 21st.
Okay.
I think Nico filled in a couple races for Seb.
It's quite an achievement though for Latifi to be 21st.
It's crazy, man. A single race, and then.
But I think also at the merits, like Nyck De Vries, he's a Formula 2 champion. He's a Formula E champion, which Formula E is. I don't know what the competition's like.
Open
there,
wheel
but he's
racing.
a champion.
It's open wheel racing at the end of the day.
He did amazing. He had a really strong qualifying, and then because of all the penalties, he inherits 8th place on the grid on Sunday today. And he races. I think he finishes 9th. I think at the end he got a penalty for something. He dropped down 10th.
Finished 9th.
But he finished 9th, so he held his own. He was up there fighting Gasly, defending well against Zhou.
No, he had an amazing race. I was very impressed.
One driver of the day, I think he deserved that driver of the day. The fact that, sure, he had a lot of simulator time. I think he's tested with Mercedes. He did FP1. He did FP1 for Aston Martin, I believe.
Yeah, but man, it's not the same as...
No.
And it's also been a triple header, so Nicky's been driving every single weekend for the last 3 weeks.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, Nicky's gone, man. I think
it's time to have a conversation at Williams HQ.
They're for sure having that conversation. When Toto Wolff after the race, he was like, if this isn't proof that he deserves a seat, and I think he's saying what we're all saying, what we're all thinking. If De Vries didn't do enough to prove that he earned this seat, then what else does he have to do? Coming into Williams, minimal prep, goes in, out qualifies his teammate, only loses 2 spots on a race around cars. Mind you, you had
one spot. No,
well, one spot at the finish line. One spot at the finish line. I believe the final result, if I'm not mistaken,
he started 8th, and I think he finished 9th.
Afterward, I saw he dropped to 10th, didn't he? Oh no, he finished 9th. He kept the 9th place, so he only dropped one spot. And he had he had Hamilton and Sainz and Checo come through.
Yep.
And so, in absolute terms, obviously you had Alonso retire, but in absolute terms, I think he actually made a spot.
We had Alonso.
Because you had
Danny. We had Alonso
Fernando.
and Danny.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Or you just seeing net spots that Nyck De Vries moved in the race. No, he had a great race.
But it's crazy. Great race. Well deserved his driver of the day. He'll probably have that Williams seat. The seat that doesn't look to be filled, but what I thought was going to be Colton Herta. I think that's growing a bit cold now. The Alpines might have one of their reserve drivers, but I think the most obvious choice right now is going to be Nyck De Vries to that Williams. I think he did a phenomenal job. I think he earned his seat, and I wouldn't be surprised.
So we're gonna we still have that Alpine seat that you've been talking about. I'm hearing rumors that Danny Rick's not coming back next year. I don't know if you saw that video that was running around.
I saw it, yeah. That he said he was going to take a year off.
Yeah, he was walking with Checo, and they were talking. And someone overheard him say that he was taking a year off, coming back later. I think it's hard.
Well, he might
if you leave once you leave F1 to find a seat to come back is
F1
very
is
hard.
so
Unless
fast
you're
paced, especially in the back.
Unless you're Fernando Alonso,
Yeah. Yeah, Danny Rick isn't on that level yet.
Yeah.
But I've also been hearing rumors or reading on Twitter that he's up for a reserve driver at Mercedes, and so that would give him the year off, while at the same time having him at race weekends, kind of keeping him in the paddock and ensuring he doesn't.
I don't know. I think
leave the conversation.
But I don't think if Lewis does retire, I don't think they'll give the seat.
Oh, I don't think so either. I don't think so either. I don't know who they give it to, but I don't think Lewis is going to retire anytime soon. So,
Nyck De Vries, if he goes crazy next season.
Yeah, I don't know.
But yeah. So if Danny leaves, maybe your prediction will come true of Gasly going to Alpine.
Well, no, because there's been a mishap. No, not a mishap, but a small obstacle in that Red Bull won't release Pierre unless they have someone to fill in their seat at Red Bull, someone who's an attractive talent. And that's what Colton Herta was going to be. He was going to be that replacement.
But do we have? I really don't follow the Red Bull Driver Academy, so I'm not really sure if they have anyone coming up.
Not someone as exciting. Like for them to release their star driver in that sister team, like it can't be just someone in F2, right? It has to be someone exciting. It has to be someone like Herta who would bring that that American F1 kind of fan base to the team.
We have a small obsession with Herta, with F1 and IndyCar.
I think we should do an episode.
I think we should do an episode of cross examining how F1 and IndyCar.
That could be something for next week.
Developed over the years, and yeah.
But I don't know. But in other news, by the way, did you read about the interview that was I guess granted or given by John Elkman, chairman of Ferrari?
Wait, hold on. Before we get into that, I want to just finish talking about the race because we haven't talked about the safety car at the end.
Oh, the safety car. Yeah, that's controversial, man. What did you think? Do you think that should have been
I think
under safety car? Or do you think it should have?
I think you don't realize what you have till it's gone. We should bring back Michael Massey.
Says the Lewis Hamilton
fanboy.
I'm
fucking around. I don't know. I mean,
they certainly follow the rules to the T this time.
It's
they
not
the rules.
Everyone wants to see the last couple of races, but at the end of the day, rules are meant to be like followed. They're made for something, so we don't have controversies like we had last year. So I mean, I understand why they did it. I think I agree that they should have ended the race with a safety car, but it's not as fun.
It's not as exciting. It's not a no, Mikey, no moment.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, Max getting booed, getting out of the car, getting his trophy. It was going to happen. I mean, I'm sure he didn't take it seriously. You're in Monza. I would have wanted Ferrari to win this race. Yeah, this is where kind of my Ferrari, my Tifosi side to have, come out.
Of course, it's awesome to see Charles win in Monza. Because the Ferrari fans are all, even if you're not a Ferrari fan, you're a Ferrari fan,
When you're in Monza, for sure. I'm not so sure I was too much a fan of those yellow suits.
Holy shit, man!
Did you see the banana memes?
Fuck. I get it, like you're trying to make something different and everything, but shit,
don't go
stuff
all
was
yellow.
Ugly,
that was
man.
Terrible.
That was
terrible.
Ugly. Fuck. They looked so bad. Man. The pit crew.
They looked terrible.
You could see the cameras when they were racing. It was so ugly, bro. I didn't like the yellow stripe on the car either.
Me either. But you know what I did like though? I did like the retro Ferrari logo on the
wing.
But
was it last year that they did the was it like the 1000th Grand Prix?
Yeah, I think it was. I think
was,
so.
Like a darker red, wine red.
Yeah,
that one was cool. This yellow.
No, but not the one, not the full season one that had the kind of the green numbers. That was terrible.
The one it was
like
the
special livery they had for the 1000th GP.
Yeah, I think. It was like a wine red. No.
Yeah, I think so.
This one was. And we were talking about last time the special liveries, that there have been some special liveries that are fucking crazy. Like the white Red Bull last year was crazy. The Gulf McLaren, which I think is one of the best liveries we've seen in years.
This one didn't hit the mark.
Yeah, this one was not it, man.
I
love seeing special liveries.
And they should have kept the theme of kind of the colors that they use, especially for the Ferrari logo, stuff like that, based on the driver's flag. So you know how Charles, his kind of his wheel rims, or not the ribs, but like those fenders they have,
red and white.
It's white, and Charles's are yellow to kind of mimic the Spanish and the Monegasque fans. Yeah, or Carlos's. Yeah. They should have done that for like the Ferrari logo and stuff. I thought it would have been cool, but anyway, I thought the retro Ferrari kind of name on the rear wing was cool, but they're probably gonna go back to having a sponsor there.
Yeah,
I didn't like
Ferrari,
the yellow. Yeah.
I mean, you miss the mark sometimes, and then sometimes
it's
you
definitely
get it right.
Not the white. It's definitely not the white Red Bull.
Yeah, no, the Gulf McLaren, man, by far was my favorite one. So the interview you were talking about,
the interview with John Elkann, the chairman of Ferrari, he was interviewed and essentially asked on his thoughts on kind of the performance around the team so far, and essentially how they how did this escape them, this title. He said he has full confidence in Binotto. He says he's been happy with the work. He expects a title by 2026.
I think that could happen. Title by 2026.
But he thinks like he's like that full confidence.
He's being
in Binotto.
very. I think they should be more. I think they should be more ambitious with their expectations. I would say title in the next 2 years.
2026.
2026
is a while.
4 years away, man.
That's the end of the era before like we see a major change.
Yeah, exactly. I would expect them to be like, okay, well, we want to fight for the title next year or the year after that. At the end of the day, they're if not Ferrari, then who's gonna fight Red Bull? Mercedes, but
he
Ferrari
did recognize
closer this year.
He did recognize that there's been errors in driving, in strategy, and kind of pit crew.
There's been errors in driving and in strategy. I don't know so much.
Yeah, I don't know so much of the driving. I mean, where was there bad? I mean, you had Charles's
Carlos had a couple spin,
and you had Charles's spin at Imola when he was battling Checo.
But then you had every single race with a strategy.
It's like you're waiting for it. Like at this point, you just wait for the fuck up. Which, granted, this race, I don't think there was a fuck up strategy. I think it was just bad luck that they had that VSC ending while they were in the pit lane. But What I will say is that I still don't understand why they keep asking the drivers on radio while they're driving for more input on the strategy.
Like 300
stay in your lane.
An hour.
You decide a strategy and you communicate to the driver. Don't ask the driver what do you think? You think this is okay?
There's literally a reason why you have a group of fucking 20 engineers in your fucking pit lane, man.
It just makes them look incompetent. If the driver I feel like
100%.
The driving, you should be doing as much as possible to make
I think
the
it was
easier.
Also with I found it funny because I think McLaren on the radio at one point in the race asked Danny Rick to slow down the car behind him. I think it was Alonso, but I'm not sure. They were like, "Could you slow him down by 1/10?" Some shit like that.
Yeah, how the fuck do you measure slowing down by 1/10?
All right, how the fuck does a driver make a calculation to slow down by 1/10? Because I think that's impossible. And second, you're literally asking your driver that you fired in the middle of the season, who's driving in the points
after having
for the first
promised
time
that he would continue.
Yeah. Fuck.
Yeah, I think Danny forgot how to race. He was probably got scared shitless. He forgot how to race in the front. I sound like such a dick, man. I love Danny Rick, but it's been a while since we see him in the top 10. Yeah, then at one point, Lando also asked his engineers to shut the fuck up and let him race. He was busy. But
overall, an interesting race.
Also in the news separate to the race, though, and we'll stick on the subject, Porsche no longer with immediate plans to enter Formula One. It's talks with Red Bull. Didn't end up working out.
Oh, they withdrew their announcement, or?
Well, no. That's Audi was the one who.
I know that's Audi, yeah.
But Porsche, there was always the rumors they had trademarked a couple.
Wait, aren't
phrases.
they both part of the Volkswagen group?
Yeah.
So why?
Yeah.
Why would they?
They want to do. Volkswagen wants to do some double dipping.
Yeah,
but they were going to come in. So the talks were around then coming in as an engine manufacturer for the
Porsche.
Red Bull team. Yeah, from 26 onward. But what happened was that Porsche, the talks broke down because Porsche wanted to be kind of on equal standing with Red Bull. So essentially be kind of like
Red Bull Porsche. Bull Porsche. Yeah.
Yeah, not just an engine supplier. They also wanted some equal standing at the ownership of the team and the branding of the team, etc. Huh. And Red Bull was like, "Come on, dude. We're Red Bull."
You.
So that didn't end up working out. What I did read an interesting tweet by Chris Medlin. He's a really good F1 reporter. He was my main source of information at the end of the Abu Dhabi race last year, where he essentially plays this theory or kind of suggests that Porsche or Andretti, now that the talks between Porsche and Red Bull broke down, Andretti having had a failed attempt at getting a team into Formula One, get on the phone with Porsche and make another bid.
12 teams in Formula One?
12 teams in Formula One. No, 12? No, 11.
I mean, if Audi joins as a team.
No, they're coming as an engine. No, Audi's not joining as a team. They're coming joining as an engine.
Yeah.
Provider, supplier.
I read something I liked where it said that Ferrari is the only team in Formula One that sells cars to race instead of races to sell cars. So they were talking about how
that's always been the case from the very beginning.
I like that how Renault and Alpine, McLaren, Alfa Romeo, these brands.
Yeah,
well, Alfa Romeo is part of Ferrari, but
Alfa Romeo is actually next year. Alfa Romeo won't be sponsoring the Sauber team. They're leaving because they didn't manage to sell enough cars as a result. Resulting from their sponsorship.
So these guys that race as a car brand, they're doing it as a way to sell more cars. As publicity, and then Ferrari does it the other way around. They sell cars to race in Formula One. And I found that pretty cool.
Is that still the case today? Because that was certainly the case. That was the case at the beginning. Now I think they're owned by the Fiat Group.
I like to romanticize it.
That was certainly the beginning. And in fact, Enzo Ferrari, when he first started racing, post World War I or II, he was racing Alfa Romeo cars, and he would just put the Ferrari logo on it because that was his team, that was his Scuderia. and he fell upon hard times. So he was always a racer. He started developing or designing road cars, to your point, to kind of fund his racing. But I'm sure
I don't know if that's the case.
I'm sure they don't need the car sales today to race. But they certainly aren't in Formula One to sell more cars. Or that's not.
No, it's because they're
inevitable, but it's because they're Ferrari.
Formula One without Ferrari wouldn't be Formula One.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. Did you see Felipe Drugovich won F2?
Yeah, I saw that.
He's a Brazilian. I don't know.
Yeah. Where is? I don't think he'll be driving in Formula One.
Not next
soon.
year. Not next year.
But maybe after that.
Let's see who is
yeah. So next time, we're gonna have to do some homework. We can do this thing about IndyCar. Kind of talk about drivers that have gone from the U.S. to Formula One. How they've been doing. I think it's by far.
I like that idea. That episode.
I think by far Formula One drivers have done better in IndyCar than IndyCar drivers in Formula One, but
I think there's been more Formula One drivers in IndyCar than vice versa. But we'll talk about it. We'll get some stats. We'll get some high results and some of the names. We'll probably talk about Fernando's, IndyCar attempts, his Indy 500 attempts. Talk about Ericsson winning the 500 this year.
And then
that'd be cool. We need to do our homework and get smart on that stuff.
And then we have
Singapore next.
Singapore,
which, as I was telling you off camera, we're now in a territory where it's mathematically possible for Verstappen to win the championship at Singapore. He's 160 points away.
If he wins and Max,
if he wins and
Charles DNFs, does he win?
Yeah. So right now Max is at 335 points and he's 116 points clear of Charles, right? And there's 6 races left. So if Max,
he'd need to be.
He doesn't even have to win.
Points.
He just needs. He needs a difference.
Points.
Yeah, he needs a difference of
125 points. It'd be 9 points. Nah.
No. He needs. He doesn't even need to be first place. If Charles retires,
he needs a 9-point difference.
9 point difference, because then they'll have 5 races left, and if he has more than
clear,
exactly. So if he has more than 125 points clear, so he doesn't even have to win. So Ferrari,
so boring, man. Could we? That's fuck. I hate that. We got spoiled last year. I told you.
Yeah.
Fuck. I wouldn't like to see him. I wouldn't like to see him win. Fucking get crowned at Singapore, man.
I don't think he'll.
5 fucking races left, bro.
Yeah, I don't think he'll get crowned in Singapore. He'll probably get crowned in Japan. But even still, you're still gonna have the U.S. You're still gonna have Mexico, Brazil, and Abu Dhabi.
Fuck that.
That'd be terrible. Like, why go watch? Well, there is still stuff to watch, but
No, I mean, at the end of the day, I think Max. We shouldn't count this season as Max being in it. It should just be the championship excluding Max.
They've compared, and I'm sure you'll disagree with this, but a lot of commentators, and I'm not even entirely sure I believe it yet. A lot of commentators have compared this Max's season this year to be one of those like Schumacher seasons in that. He's just so dominant. The car is so dominant, both his driving and the car, that
like Lewis. They can literally. I think it was 2020 where he won it like fucking 4 races before.
They can run any strategy they want. They can do a 1-stop on this race or a 2-stop. Doesn't matter. They'll still have the pace, the outright pace to win the race.
Do you think Do you think it's merit to Red Bull or just a lack of decent?
No, I think it's a merit to Red Bull.
A lack of decent competitors.
No, I think like Max is driving with a confidence that he's never had before. Like the confidence he has now that he has a title.
Yeah,
he's just unlocked kind of this maturity and just this kind of consistency that he was lacking. Because he's by far the quickest guy on.
Yeah, I don't think there's
tracks.
anyone.
Like, no one's at his level this year. Lewis probably lost a little bit of edge this year just because he doesn't have he's not competing at Max's level, so he's not fighting for wins.
There's a lot of frustration involved.
Oh, agreed.
He wants that eighth world championship, and
we'll see if he gets it. I mean,
I don't think he'll. I mean, if he can keep driving,
I'm rooting against
team,
him.
I don't think he'll. You're rooting against him?
Yeah.
Yeah. Fuck you.
I want. I don't even want. I don't even want Max to get that record. I want Schumacher to keep that record. It's not his. Like he didn't stop. Like just like with Senna, he didn't. Yeah. He stopped racing not because he wanted to.
Yeah.
And so.
Anyway, on that note,
I think we'll note to end.
Yeah, but it's pretty grim. But we'll see you guys next week.
We'll talk about IndyCar and Formula 1.
I'll try to dig up some fun facts, maybe to discuss stuff like that on IndyCar, on Formula 1. And yeah, see you guys next week.
Yeah, hopefully we'll see you guys next week. And in 2 weeks, maybe we'll be talking about Max being 210 world champion.
Lewis win. What?
All right.
All right, guys. See you guys. Thanks for watching.